All right, the pistol X12. But what is it really? What does this look like to you, Brett?
Looks like a Glock.
Yeah.
A variation of a Glock.
It does, yeah. Good old Call of Duty calling their guns something other than what they actually. Do you work with pistols? Do you work with rifles? Do you work with all kinds?
I do some random pistol stuff, but mainly rifles, typically rifle type stuff. Sidewinder.
Yeah, looks like, yeah, there's a deeper customization than previous games, I think, which is pretty cool for like the Modern Warfare series.
So I used to actually play Call of Duty, like the first couple Call of Duties.
Oh,
all
really?
the time with my buddies. Yeah.
Oh.
Way back. I think the original Modern Warfare and some of the first ones.
I've been playing through them on my live stream, twitch.tv/myhappyself. What do you think about the customization level on this? The switching out the slides, the different sights, that kind of thing?
From a realistic standpoint, I mean, Glocks are pretty universal guns. I mean, there's a lot of aftermarket parts for them. So yeah, I mean, you could realistically switch out a lot of that stuff. The sight on top, the red dot, that's pretty typical stuff. So yeah, it's so far pretty. Those are some wicked looking rounds, but I don't know what those were.
So it looks like there's customization between it says X12 and X13 auto. When it comes to the mechanisms inside, do you know how easy is it to convert a pistol, like to change those parts out? It says auto, you know, full auto, semi-auto, that kind of stuff. Are the mechanics very involved when it comes to something like that?
You know, realistically, there's a handful of parts in there that they swap out for between auto and full, or semi-auto and full auto, which is the difference between semi-auto, you pull the trigger once and it goes off once, and full auto, you pull the trigger down and it keeps going. But yeah, there's only a handful of parts, but Glocks are a little more involved than some other guns to swap those out, but it's doable, but it's all regulated too, so.
Of course, yeah, and yeah. I love the extended magazine. The extended drum magazine is my favorite on the pistol.
Like the big drum is just hanging down there.
Yep.
Those bullets.
Can we pause? Yeah. So it looks like we got some frangible, armor piercing.
Is that what those are? The frangible ones?
Yeah.
Must have been like the little siped ones.
Frangible, that's like when it hits something, it would kind of like smush and kind of spread out, right? Armor piercing, hollow point, overpressured. Mm-hmm. Do you know, does he have any insight on a 9mm and overpressured bullet? I don't know. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that.
You get an overpressure in the cartridge when it fires, yeah.
Maybe could it be by design? Is that something they might do by design? I don't know how they would do that.
I mean, they'd speed it up. You put a little more powder or certain different types of powder in there, and you can speed it up and get it going faster. And if you go too far, things will blow up. Which isn't good.
All right, there you go. Looking like we got some, we got suppressors, some compensators right there. Do you work with anything like that in terms of like building that in or attaching that?
Yep, so we do that quite a bit with rifles. We do a lot of suppressors and muzzle, what we call them, like a muzzle brake would be a technical term.
Anything about these kind of customizations kind of catching your eye? The trigger, the slides, anything impressive looking? Are they up to date, you think, as far as what you know?
Yeah, just going through it quickly. I mean, the one thing that kind of caught my eye was I think it was a match trigger or something like that. That's always a nice thing to have, and it increases the functionality of the gun quite a bit. Usually makes it more accurate, stuff like that.
Do you get any kind of odd requests? People customize these crazy customs. They want dragon put on the side of their rifle or something. Or do you deal more with like the nitty gritty, real deal, like just making it precise and accurate?
More of the putting it together and making the thing work the way it's supposed to.
Good.
Boy, he's going off.
Yeah, what do you think about the sound, the action, the way that it's working?
You know, with that, you're looking at like stuff like the recoil, and the recoil with that little brake or compensator on there is probably pretty realistic. It's going to kick a little bit, but it's not going to kick like a typical one without that attachment on there.
Pistols, you know, he's getting some range on that guy way down at the end. Pretty realistic, kind of hard to do.
Depends on who's shooting it, I guess, but typically, no. I mean, as I'm sure you're aware of, the typicals are typically designed for closer range stuff, you know, within 25 yards, ideally. That thing, I don't know if he's 50 or 100 yards out there, that's getting to be a poke with that weapon.
No, you're right. I think a lot depends on who's handling the firearm. I like the sounds. I feel like sound design in video games over the decades has gotten a lot more accurate. It's not this kind of 80s action. Everything is a thunderclap and an explosion. You know, it's just that pop from the gunpowder. You know, I'm sure they've done their research.
Yeah.
All right, now we got the M4. This is my bread and butter. This is what I use. Obviously, an older looking model than this. I ran with the M4 in Iraq in 2008, and then ever since then, it's just gotten better and better.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've done in the last even 10 years with all the attachments and the upgrades of these things, that it just makes them a whole nother level from, even 10 years ago.
Do you work with this kind of AR style weapon a lot?
A little bit. It's not my main forte, but I deal with this stuff on regularity, I guess. So yeah, they got some pretty nifty, what do they call those, M-bus sights or something on the top there, those open sights. Those are sticking out quite a ways.
Yeah, I love that the AR platform. I've tried to up my firearms knowledge since jumping into the gaming space and the streaming space, because I got a lot of people that they know more than I ever did, and it's amazing the universality. Like, you can see that main body, you look at that main body, and it's the basics are pretty much the same. It's how you customize it and how you change little things around, like the trigger and the selector switch. It's pretty amazing how customizable you can get with just the AR platform.
You can go from as simple as you want to be to outrageous, and anything you want in between. It's kind of cool to see a lot of the stuff that goes onto these things too, different people's idea of what they should be. Depending on what you're using it for too, there can be different features that go on there to make it more practical.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite weapon? And my answer is usually, well, it depends. First of all, it's usually the M4 because that's the one I have the most experience with. But my other question is, well, what are you using it for? What's the purpose? People may think something looks cool, but it may not actually have the functionality that you're looking for with what you want to accomplish.
Absolutely. Yep, and it's look like they're setting this thing for maybe some, I don't know, special ops stuff or
right. Yeah, you get the red dot at the top, looking real light. When your experience with firearms, manufacturing firearms, are you able to actually machine it from a solid piece of steel, or do you take these different parts and you build them from nothing all the way up to a functional platform?
So typically, it's like with a bolt action rifle, let's say, I usually take custom actions. I take a barrel blank that's been reamed and bored, and then sometimes they're profiled, sometimes they're not. We thread them, we chamber them, we fit them, and stuff like that. With ARs, typically it's a lot of parts bolt together, for lack of a better term, but they do require some special fitting. And depending on what you're using it for, again, they can need quite a bit of extensive fitting to make them function properly. So
one thing that I've noticed is everything has they find ways to cut weight to make things more streamlined, especially when it comes to like the idea of like building something for CQB, close quarters combat. They hollow out that stock. They punch a bunch of holes. They have the M-lock rail or Picatinny. It looks like they've just tried to get rid of as much metal as possible.
Well, when you add all that, a lot of those ARs are aluminum. The barrel, of course, is steel, but most of the rest of the gun is either aluminum or plastic. And aluminum weight adds up. So that's why you see a lot of those forearms on those ARs they're hollowed out or keyed out to try and dump weight. AK-47.
Yeah, AK don't care. You put it all on there. You put all the weight on there. Now, looking at these different attachments, you see the buttstock change. You see the front hand grip change. Are these all things that you work with? These are things that ideally you could make happen in the real world scenario?
Yeah, typically. The AKs are, well, this one looks like a folder, so it might be a little different, but typically AK furniture, which you would say is the buttstock, the forearm, is pretty easy to swap out on these things. So that's not typically a big deal. With the fixed stock ones that don't fold up, they're really easy. The folders are a little more difficult, but it's doable for sure.
All right, cool. So this could be your shop that we're looking at.
Yeah. And it's funny, the AK has been around for decades now, and the core of the AK is pretty much not changed at all. The AR has gone through a few variations over the years, and it's some improvements here and there, but the AK is pretty much the AK. It is what it is.
Do you think that speaks to kind of the baseline, solid design of it? It is what it is, and it works. You can change a lot of the toys and furniture around, like you said, but at its heart, it's a pretty good weapon. Yeah,
when it was designed to be a relatively inexpensive military weapon to manufacture. That's why you see most of them have a stamped sheet metal receiver on them. And on each end, there's the trunnions, the back and the front, where the barrel mounts and then the stock mounts. So those are two of the just big main metal pieces in there. The rest of it's, it's a pretty inexpensive thing to make. The functionality of it is, pretty bulletproof, pun intended, to be, so, it's a good gun. It's stood the test of time for many, many years.
Do you do stamped metal? Is that something that a process you're familiar with?
So I know how to do it. I don't do it myself. I don't typically, I repair some AKs and stuff like that, but I don't typically build them.
Okay.
Not very much muzzle jump on that thing. He's got a brake on there, or whatever that thing is. I'm sure, Israel, you've shot some AKs, I'm assuming.
Well, only very limited. When I was in, we had some familiarity training because obviously the AK platform is the most popular platform in the world. Like I said, my thing was the M4 5.56, and that's what we ran with. I think it was the Glock 1 at the time in terms of the attachment for our history buffs out there. But sure would like to get my hands on a lot more of those.
Yeah. Just one thing to note about when you shoot one, there's no better term for it than clunky. When you shoot, it just goes like clunk, and it's just every time clunk.
Well, you look inside the guts of an AK platform, and it looks to me from a layman's perspective, couple of parts. You take off the cover, you got the spring in there, the trigger mechanisms inside. It ain't a whole lot there, it seems.
No, they're pretty simple. They're extremely simple.
All right, SDB 5.56. This looks like a
is it like a Steyr?
Yeah, Steyr AUG or something like that. And Bullpup design, obviously. Do you work with Bullpups? Are they very much different than kind of the standard AR platform or whatever?
I don't really, and they're not really my favorite. I get the idea behind them. I mean, they're designed to be a compact weapon system, and they do that very well. I have no need for that, so I guess I don't mess with them a lot.
Sure.
As far as, I mean, comparing them to an AR, the big difference with the Bullpup type rifles is the trigger mechanism, depending on how they're designed, has to be extended to make sure, for the hammer and everything to work. So it's a little different. It's kind of actually a nifty design how they do it, but yeah, it's not my forte, I guess. It's not my favorite.
Can you tell us any more detail about that trigger, that design, anything you might know?
It's been a while since I pulled one apart, but a lot of them, and not all of them, I'm going to say some of them have like connecting rods where a lot of modern weapon systems have a trigger assembly and the whole trigger is contained in that one housing. Some of these Bullpup rifles have like a connecting rod that go back to a secondary hammer and stuff that fires it. It's kind of a nifty design just because the bolt has to be further back because the magazine is further back and that's the way they're designed. So it's a nifty design, but
it seems like we've seen three major designs. We've seen the AK, the AR, and then the Bullpup. I guess the AK and the AR might have a little bit more parity than the Bullpup, but you see these bodies, these kind of general ideas, and then with the customization that we're seeing in the game today, you just put a bunch of different stuff on.
What you think's going to make it work better, I guess.
I love the grip. I had a post grip, a full grip. When I was running.
You find it pretty useful?
Yeah, I mean it was it was a matter of it's what I knew. Now today I gotta put a lot of practice into the C clamp, and that's kind of established doctrine now. Established practice. You work with a lot of suppressors much?
I do. We run quite a few suppressors on different things. We do like PRS matches, which is long-range rifle stuff, and we run suppressors on those, and it's fun stuff to deal with. See, here's a point with when running suppressors, they're not always like whisper quiet like you see in the movies.
Sure.
I'm sure you've ran some, but I mean, to get that quiet whisper noise, you have to run subsonic ammunition. Most factory ammunition you buy is not that unless you specifically look for it. Then they'll get quiet, but they just cut the noise down a certain percent. They don't make them quiet.
Right, yeah, it's not like flip, not like the Hitman series.
It's a good series.
Yeah. All right, the RPK. That's the real name for it. Another Russian weapon, right? I think we're looking at.
Yep, I guess you'd say it's an AK variant.
Yeah, there you go. Fully automatic machine gun. I love it. I love the drum mag.
Yep.
That's so iconic, too.
That just makes it look nicer, too.
Yeah. Definitely attractive. Bipod on the front.
I like how those things are, I mean, realistically, they're not huge, but it's big enough you got to have a handle on the side to carry it around.
Right, yeah. I love the barrel lengths. What do you know about how a barrel length changes the performance of a weapon? What does that affect?
So a couple things. It can change the accuracy of it. Of course, the longer barrel you have, the harder it is to move it off a target. Thinking like a little stub nose pistol, it doesn't take much turning it to change where you're hitting. The other thing is, of course, velocity. You get a longer barrel, you got more time for the powder to burn, and then you get a higher velocity in your bullet. So those are the two main things. Look at that stock.
Yeah, I love it. It's we got this high-end sight on here, but that old lived-in wood stock.
A lot of those AKs, it's cool to see them when you get them, and they got that old wood stock on them. They got that old varnish on them, and they're beat to crap from being used, and they look just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a good job of translating.
Yeah, it's funny too. People, different occasions, you know, you get a high-end optic, which could be several $1,000s, and people put them on a, you know, $1,000 gun. And
you got to be careful with those optics, because if you don't have everything, if the machinery isn't solid, if the gun isn't solid, the rails aren't solid, that thing's going to be shaking around all around. It could throw off your accuracy.
So that's the name of the game with any optic, is keeping it solid.
I love the magnifier. It looks like it's one that kind of flips up and flips down. Like you got two there, one behind the other. That's not something I ever ran.
Yeah, I've never had experience with one of those personally, but it looks like a nifty setup.
Do you have a favorite weapon that you've worked with or shot?
A favorite weapon? Ooh, that's a tough question.
That's all right. I get asked that all the time.
And so many of them are fun, and you know, one of my favorites is the old 1911.
1911.
45.
Classic. Yeah.
It's hard to beat.
That's awesome. That's very classic. Good old Arlie Ermy. He loved that one. He's so powerful. That 7.62, that AK, or that RPK.
Yeah, the 7.62 by 39. Or the RPK, I can't remember. That's a 39, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, what we were looking at here looks like when they were choosing the ammo, it was 7.62.
Yeah, because some of like the Dragunovs and stuff, the sniper rifles, they were 7.62 by 54, rushing around.
Do you work with a lot of ammo? Do you do any kind of working with ammo, loading ammo, anything like that?
Yeah, I reload quite a bit. For a lot of my stuff is you can't buy off the shelf, so I gotta make it myself.
Oh, okay, there you go. That's 9K. Obviously, AK variant.
Maybe like a Galil or something like that. A 5.56 version of the AK.
Well, this looks possibly like a 9. This looks like a 9mm version. Just looking at the magazine.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Folding stock, all the different customizations. How much does it? How much? I mean, like, tell me about what a stock does and why that's important for different scenarios.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty big question, but basics of it is if you got good ergonomics behind the stock, it can help reduce like muzzle flip. That's one of the big things of it, and the comfort of it. Your length of pull, they call it, how far your hand is on the trigger, it affects that. With some of these type of weapons where you're in a military situation, they may not matter quite so much, but like a sniper rifle, that would be set up like that. Utilitarian, fold it up when you don't need it, pack it away.
Tight, compact. I know that airborne units they talk about airborne units with folding stocks. They can fold it up when they jump, unfold it, and you're ready to go.
See, that's kind of just a mean-looking little system there.
Yeah.
Short, compact, blacked out.
I'm a sci-fi fan, so when I see lots of angles and holes and everything kind of looks really angular and hard metal, you know, I'm thinking like Dead Space or like Halo. Looking mean, looking close quarters.
They'd rock.
You say you work with kind of more precision weapons. Does that mean you work with guns that tend to have a higher caliber bullet that they fire? Maybe less so the 9mm series?
So like with a lot of the rifles I build, there are a lot of 6mm stuff, like 6BR is a 6 Dasher, or they're not very big. I mean, you can go all the way up to like 50 cal and stuff like that, but a lot of, you know, medium-sized caliber stuff.
Oh, that's nice, yeah. I love the intricacies. You can see the animations where he takes the empty magazine out. He kind of does a brass check, it looks like, pulls the charging handle back just a tiny bit, and then, you know, and then he knows he has to reload and stuff. I love the that kind of detailed animation style in these new games. Ooh, look at this, the Fennec 45. This almost looks like a Chris Vector variant or something like that. Almost looks like they shoved a pistol into a Chris Vector.
I was going to say a pistol and a bullpup married, but not quite.
It's that forward angled kind of that when the body comes down into the magazines. That looks like that Chris Vector kind of. Apparently all these weapons are based off of stuff that exists in the real world, though.
You know, I think it's the KP-40 or something like that, World War II weapon. It was, I think it was a German or a Russian, but that kind of reminds me of a modern version of this guy. Yeah, it's kind of a nifty looking thing.
This to me looks like, something like close quarters combat kind of thing. Very compact design. You work with a lot of optics. You get people sending you, say, hey, attach this on here, or you work with more like the body of the weapon itself?
Yeah, we do optics. We get you know, a lot of pistols and stuff need them mounted a specific way or a certain way. As far as rifles go, I mean, you big scopes and you tune them up and put them on there right and make sure they work properly. The red dots and the halos and stuff like that, not as much, but once in a while.
Barrel grip. I love these angled grips. I didn't see angled grips when I was in. That came after my time. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's more, I guess, ergonomically correct, I guess you would say.
Yeah, with kind of the angle, the hand kind of gripping it, you know, putting the hand out there,
Little hook on the back end of the buttstock there if you wanted to hold on to the back end. I don't know if it's 3 bursts or full auto or what it is.
I like the charging handle lever flips down. You flip it open, charge it, and then it goes back and kind of a compact, kind of flips forward.
A set-me variation. The old set-me's were like that. Big drum mag.
I'm a fan of that in video games like this because what I lack in accuracy, I more than make up for in volume. Spray and pray, they call it.
Yep, spray and pray. A lot of headshots. You got a good shooter here.
Yeah. All right, marksman rifle, SPR 208. Is this looking familiar? This is looking like something you might work with?
Yeah, so this is more up my alley. Not sure what this one is exactly, but it's
what it's supposed to be based off of. So we looks like we have a removable magazine there, but it's a bolt action.
It's like a big hole at the end of the barrel there.
Nice soft butt stock for the shoulder. Got anywhere from a 23.5-inch barrel, fluted, to like a 16-inch barrel.
Yeah, so I mean the idea behind fluting is to, number one, cut weight. You get a big heavy, like Sendero contour is a typical one for like a heavy target rifle, or varmint contours, stuff like that. They flute them to take weight out of the barrel. A secondary thing is they can help cool it off a little bit if you're shooting successive rounds down range in a quick amount of time, but weight savings is a big one.
Okay, now I'm seeing like carbon. What are barrels typically made out of these days?
Barrels typically today are, the vast majority of production ones are chromoly steel, and then they have carbon wrapped barrels. So they take a stainless steel barrel, thin it down in one fashion or another, then they wrap it in carbon fiber. And the idea behind that is you cut weight and make them stiffer. They claim some heat dissipation as well too. So yeah, I don't know what kind of stock they got. I don't know if this is an import rifle or what it is, but it looks like a plastic stock. Not a fan of plastic stocks on precision rifles. Got some old worn out rings there.
Yeah, they do a good job of, there we go. Now we're looking at the stock. Oh, they got a little pad in there, little extension. No. Why would you want an extension or, on a stock there? And what's that top?
Cheek riser?
Yeah, cheek riser. Okay, so that your cheek stock well is here, you rise it up and kind of change the angle a little bit.
Yep, so that's so you can have a good sight picture down your scope. You can, if you've done it long enough and you're good enough, you can get the same spot, same plant on your cheek weld, they call it, and you can keep your precision as high as possible with that.
That same sight picture every single time. You want to kind of get that muscle memory.
Yep.
Of the bipods. Never worked with those too much. I did have one for a little bit in Iraq, but it just never came down. I just was never in a position to have to be stable like that.
Yeah, they're more of a if you got time thing, I would think. And they can, guys practice on them all the time. And they make different types of bipods that are extremely sturdy. And if you practice on them, you can be very accurate off a bipod. Nice looking rig.
Expensive hobby.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Maybe just stick to the game for now.
They're cheaper.
Yeah, right.
The noise that this one makes with the suppressor on it is pretty typical of what you would hear with a standard off-the-shelf, ammunition round. It's still going to be loud, but it cuts it down a little bit. See, and that's a good picture of what you'd actually be seeing if you were shooting it.
Yeah, nice.
Behind the gun.
Very accurate. That's cool. Whoa, buddy. Hey, take it easy there. Marksman Rifle SA-Dash B50. This does not look familiar at all.
No, I was going to say, thinking 50, I was thinking like a 50 cal.
Oh, okay.
But it looks kind of small for a 50.
Maybe a compact version? Bolt action? It's so funny. I mean, the basics are there, the butt stock, but it looks, really cut down and futuristic looking, real sleek design, but all the basics are still there. A lot of rails, a lot of places to attach equipment. 9-inch, 18.5-inch, 12-inch. Boy, a lot of variations for the barrel.
Carbon fiber. That one's carbon wrapped.
What is carbon wrapped? What is that carbon fiber?
So it's carbon fiber. It's, they take it and they wrap it, and it ends up being, the idea is being stiffer than the steel actually is.
All right. I love that butt stock. That's see, that last one looked familiar.
That one?
But that assaulter one. But man, oh man.
I like that trigger on there. They got a little flat trigger with a little curve to it. That'd probably be pretty nice to shoot.
Yeah, you can even change the bolt. Wonder how that would change performance in the game itself. 308. So it's shooting 308. High velocity. Thought all bullets traveled at the same speed. I thought they were all high velocity.
Armor piercing bullets.
You got suppressors, and then they would just be flash suppressors. Not compensators. Is a compensator the same as a pistol? It's a compensator, and a rifle it's a suppressor, or is it not? Am I thinking totally different things?
Yeah, I'd call it like a flash hider.
Flash hider. Okay.
Sometimes they call them bird cages.
Okay.
So yeah, here again we got another rifle that is set up for adjustability for each individual person.
Right. It looks like there's dials in the butt stock for the cheek rise, and then also for the butt stock coming in and out, and then a lot of places to customize.
I like you just kind of aim it and don't look through the scope, shoot down range.
Yeah, it's not shooting from the hip, it's like shooting from the shoulder. At least he's got those great gloves on.
Oh yeah. Gotta have those. They're just shooting gloves.
Those gloves are guaranteed to improve accuracy 25%.
Absolutely. You won't drop it.
Yeah, that is, because I'm telling you, that looks like an expensive rifle. What do you think about the sounds, the actions and stuff? What do you think? Looking pretty good, pretty slick?
Yep. Yeah, so the sound is actually pretty spot on. I mean, it makes that sound when you put the magazine up into the mag well and the bolt action running back and forth. It's usually a pretty distinct sound.
Now, Brett, do you think Cameron and I play a little game called Guess That Gun on our channel Shift Fire over on YouTube? Go check it out. Where we hear the gun and we got to try to guess the type of gun. Do you think you could get something like that? Because I tell you, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, that would be hard. I'd give it a shot, but that would be hard.
I think it's more of have you played the game, not how familiar are you with firearms in general.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, the LAB 330. Another bolt action. That looks like almost like a polymer, the body.
Even a lot of these newer, I guess polymer, you'd call them, stocks or chassis, they put aluminum bedding blocks in them. So there's an aluminum subframe basically that action screws into, and it makes it pretty solid.
You get the polymers a lot more and more these days? You say they're more popular these days?
Again, it kind of depends on what the person is using it for. They tend to be on the more affordable side versus if you're going like all aluminum or carbon fiber, stuff like that. They can work very well. 300, so like a 300 Win Mag probably.
You say 300 Win Mag, would you say that is for more long distance shooting specifically?
Yeah, I think does the military use 300? I think they use 300 Win Mags.
Hey,
currently.
they'll let us know in the comments section, man. They will let us know.
Yeah, I like how all these, and they get used, but all these rifles got quad rails on the front of them.
I got to get more distance shooting, some more long range shooting under my belt. I really didn't do a lot of it. I got a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. Every once in a while I go out to shoot to about 1,400 yards. It's fun.
No kidding.
No.
Wow. Oh, it looks like is that an IR scope?
It looks like it.
Hey, all right. Becoming more and more widely available, those kinds of things.
Yeah, we get a lot of guys that go coyote hunting that use those.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I like how that rifle has an open sight on it.
If you didn't have the IR scope, at least you'd have something.
Yeah, just in case your scope falls off.
This guy's handling this like it's like one arm. Pretty light, this one looking, or pretty heavy looking?
I don't know. It'd probably be middle of the road. Some of them target rifles get up to like, even like sniper type rifles get to be like the 16 plus pound range. So they're not always the latest things.
Well, that's it, folks. The weapons from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Brett, what did you think about the weapons that we saw today?
Pretty impressed overall. For the most part, they were pretty spot on with the real life thing. That RPK was dead nuts.
I'd like to get my hands on these. I mean, in the real world would be great, but I guess I'll have to settle for Modern Warfare 2 for now.
No, it was fun. It was interesting to see that, as progression of the years go along, that you see more and more realistic type weapons in some of these games that give a good depiction of what's actually there and what they actually are in real life.
Yeah, it looks like the developers really do their research when it comes to
absolutely.
these. Brett, where can people find you out on the internet?
ApexRifles.com is my website, and that's where you can find me.
All right, sounds good, folks. You can catch me at the Pop Culture Field Manual Podcast. Catch you on the next one, folks. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.